We've said this a lot on this show, but sometimes it's good to be wrong. It is good to be wrong sometimes. And, normally every week we watch the Panthers begrudgingly almost because we have to do this show. Not today. Not today.
Victory Sunday, man.
Today, the Carolina Panthers went on the road, went into Las Vegas, beat a Raiders team, which was kind of the media darlings because of a comeback victory over Baltimore last week. And they didn't just beat them.
Beat them down.
The final score, 36-22, was not even indicative of how, it's crazy to say this, how dominant the Carolina Panthers look today on both sides of the ball. Now, the offense is what we're gonna talk about mainly for the obvious reasons. But we said this last week. Offenses and defenses have to have a symbiotic type relationship. And if one's doing well, then that allows the other to do well. And that is exactly what happened today, as Andy Dalton becomes the only quarterback in the league so far through 3 games this season to throw for over 300 yards. And boy, did he look good. And the Carolina Panthers look like a completely different team today. And I was going to make a joke about the championship parade. But there are some buts. There's some context here, okay?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about that later. But let's soak in the victory right now. Jamal, what did you see? Did you enjoy yourself watching this game?
I thoroughly enjoyed today. My Bojangles was even good today, man. So that was a good sign. Yeah, man. I tell you what I saw, man. I saw a complete football team. I can't believe we're sitting here talking like this because I haven't seen a professional looking team.
Since Steve Wilkes left?
Since Steve Wilkes left, consistently anyway. But we know what the hot topic will be. We're not living under a rock, man. We know the hot topic is going to be the quarterback situation, how the team was completely different with Andy Dalton as opposed to Bryce Young. But anybody watching this game, you have to tell yourself, man, they look like, again, just from every level, it looked better today. Now, I do not like how soft the defense played in the fourth quarter with the lead. I'm not really liking that. I don't really like that part of it. However, for 3 quarters, man, that defense was smothering Gardner Minshew, man. They did a good job on Devontae Adams, man. Michael Jackson. Mike Jackson.
Where'd Mike Jackson come from?
You're right. He's out there just making plays. He's all over the place, man. Canal, look, man. Short sample size. We're talking 3 games. We don't want to jump too far ahead of ourselves, but it looks like Canales made some very necessary adjustments. Of course, the obvious one is at quarterback, but you can look at the play on the field, man. It looks like Canales actually. I think he did a hell of a coaching job today, man. You could see the adjustments, man. And the one thing that sticks out to me: no turnovers, no interceptions, no fumbles, not a lot of stupid penalties by the Panthers. All those are good signs of good teams. When you do those things, those are unsung things that fans don't really look at when it comes to a good football team. And looking at the Panthers today, again, man, the professionalism was what I noticed on every level today, man. It was a good feeling for once.
Dave Canales saved his job, but not for the reasons everyone thinks. I don't think it has as much to do with Bryce Young as we think it does. And let me explain. I watched Andy Dalton today. He had maybe 3-4 bad throws that fortunately, didn't end up being disastrous. But they weren't even that bad throws. They weren't even bad decisions, right?
They were really just good plays by the Raiders. Well, at least a couple of those were. Did
he do anything, though, that you don't think Bryce Young would ever be capable of doing in an NFL uniform? That's what I'm thinking when I'm watching this. He had one throw where he was able to throw over the linebacker. I thought Bryce might not have been able to make that throw because you've got to anticipate the receiver's route coming clear of that zone. That was a tough throw to make. But I think it had more to do with the fact that Andy Dalton fits what Dave Canales wants to do better than Bryce Young does. Someone brought up a good point on one of my Facebook friends who isn't even a Panthers fan, but he was talking about Bryce Young and essentially how at Alabama, Bryce had all these weapons, and that's why he was good. But then he mentions he stumbles over his own argument. He mentions how Nick Saban changed the Alabama scheme to fit or to make up for Bryce Young's lack of physical talents.
Right.
And the Panthers never did that. How many rollouts did you see today? None. Right. Andy Dalton stood in the pocket. He just stood in the pocket, stepped up in the pocket when it started to collapse, and made the throw. Bryce Young cannot do that, and not because he's not talented.
Bryce Young should not do that.
Exactly. That's not what you do, and that's not what Alabama did. You roll out, you reset the pocket, you scheme to make your offensive linemen create passing lanes so that your short quarterback can see down the field. I don't think Dave Canales, and I thought he did a good job coaching today, but I don't think he's a good enough coach to do that. He was not a good enough offensive coordinator at Tampa to do that. Why would we think that he could suddenly come in, look at Bryce Young and say, you know what? Let's do an offensive scheme where we move the quarterback around, we reset the pocket, and we create passing lanes in the offensive line for him. No, he didn't do that. Instead, Andy, he benches this because he's like, I can't do that for Bryce. But Andy Dalton, whose whole career he just sat in the pocket in Cincinnati and racked up yards, that's what he was able to do today. That fits. Andy Dalton fits better from what I saw today, what Dave Canales is able to do as a coach as far as scheme goes. I didn't see any awesome play calling. I didn't see any. It was pretty standard. Your quarterback drops back. Yeah, your quarterback drops back, goes through his progressions, and he makes the immediate read, or he, if he's got time in the pocket, he goes downfield. That was it. There wasn't anything. They even ran a smoke route at one point, which you and I harped on last week. Like, why are they running a smoke route? They ran a smoke route and got a first down. Right. So, I just think that this benching was Dave Canales saying, hey, I can't make this team fit what Bryce Young does, but it'll work with Andy Dalton. And it did.
Well, you're probably reading my mind right now, and you know exactly where I'm going to go with this. Because that picture that hangs on our ceiling, like you probably have one, and I have one. There's a guy who hangs on my ceiling, and I look at him every day. I'm like, man, we'll never have a guy like that here. His name is Rob Trubisky, and. And you remember how Rob Trubisky tailored the Panthers offense around his rookie quarterback that allowed his rookie quarterback to pass for 4,000 yards. Let me be very clear. Bryce Young is not Cam Newton, but the point remains, to your point, those coaches had the wherewithal to say, you know what, we have to limit his limitations and tailor our offense around him. Bryce Young has had three coaches who have not done that at all.
Three coaches and 4 play callers.
And 4 play callers who failed to do that. Now, with that being said, it does not matter because we all know the NFL is a bottom line league. You understand what I'm saying? It stands for not for long. Dave Canales was like, you know what? I saw what happened to Frank Reich. I saw what happened to Steve Wilkes. Nah, son. You're not gonna happen to me. Now, not to jump too far ahead, and I want to be very clear, y'all. This is not me trying to be negative. I want to be very clear. But Andy Dalton looked like damn Tom Brady today. Like he played that good today. Andy Dalton was really good today. But for what was played called out there. And again, I'm with you, cause it wasn't like anything super intricate or crazy. The play calling was like very vanilla, but for what Andy Dalton did, he made every correct read. He was patient in the pocket. Unfortunately, he didn't throw any picks. One of them probably should have been, but I digress. Andy Dalton played great today. And I'm not trying to be negative, but I don't think we're going to get this Andy Dalton every week. And if we do, hell, man, we need to start making some playoff arrangements. You understand what I'm saying? So let's just kind of keep this in context. Enjoy the win today, okay? And let's see what we can do going forward. Because, again, Andy Dalton was really, really good today. I just don't know if he's going to be that every week.
The Raiders aren't that good, right? Now, to be fair, we did pick the Raiders to win, but I think that was more because the Panthers look so inept.
Right.
They just look that bad that we thought that it doesn't matter who they play, they're going to lose. The Raiders are not that good.
And let me cut you off. I did not foresee the defense playing this good today. I just want to throw that in there real quick, man. But go ahead.
But Willie Smith brings up a good point here. The biggest reason I saw between Bryce and Andy was confidence.
Yeah.
With the role that there were a few, for instance, Bryce Young does not, that throw to Thielen, which was an incredible touchdown. I hate that it ended up being kind of a Pyrrhic victory because we lost Adam Thielen to a hamstring injury. Bryce Young doesn't attempt that throw.
Right.
There's some debate whether or not you think that he can make it or not. But he made those kind of throws at Alabama, right?
Right.
I think in the NFL, Bryce Young doesn't think, I can make that throw. Bryce Young doesn't think, I can drop this right over the linebacker, drop it back into the zone to my guy on a post route. I don't think.
But I think the question has to be asked: is he allowed to make those throws? You understand? Like, let me explain what I mean by that. Does he have coaches in his ear saying, "Hey, man, just take the check down, man. Hey, man, just take the easy read."
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's being a quarterback in the NFL is the hardest position in professional sports, besides being a soccer goalkeeper or a hockey goalie. I think those are the three hardest, because it all rides on you, right? You make all the decisions that determine whether or not your team has success on in the field of play. So, I think it's hard to fault any rookie for wanting to play safely. And we said this last season, the biggest reason between Bryce and CJ Stroud was not talent. It was that CJ Stroud was willing to make risky throws. CJ Stroud threw the most passes to contested receivers more than anybody else in the league, because he was just like, somebody gonna catch it, right? Bryce Young is a little more calculating, and the biggest praise for him coming out of college was that he was a really, really smart QB. He was really intelligent. I don't know if he can read defenses that well at an NFL level, because it's a lot different. But I don't have any reason to think that he won't gain the ability to do that. Yeah. Bryce Young's confidence is gone. I think it was gone that first play against New Orleans where he throws a pick. I think that was it. He just thought, "Damn, here I go again," and it just got worse and worse and worse.
And just and I know that this is not everything, man, but we didn't see this in the little bit of preseason action we saw. We didn't hear it in training camp. So I'm just like, well, what happened between training camp and these first two games? Because all the reports that came out were, Bryce Young looks really good. He had that really good scrimmage against the Jets, and and again, the little bit we saw, man, he looked fine. So I'm just wondering what happened between the offseason and these two games.
Game speed matters more than anything, maybe. And I just think he didn't get enough reps in the preseason, for one. I could see sitting Andy Dalton in the preseason. He's been in the league 14 years. Andy Dalton never needs to play another preseason snap. Bryce Young, though, especially after the season he had last season, you got a new coach, new play caller, new offense, a new scheme. He needs those snaps. I'm still going to fault Canales for that, although I don't really have a whole lot of smoke for Dave Canales today. But I still think not giving him snaps in the preseason was a massive mistake. I just don't get it. I don't get why you don't give your guy those reps. And I still think it's because Dave Canales thinks, man, I can't run my scheme with Bryce Young. And I don't know how to build a scheme around this guy. That's not, I know it sounds like I'm knocking on Canales, but the truth is that he has only been offense coordinator once for one team. That was last year in Tampa Bay, and they were the 26th ranked offense in the league. And they have Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, right? So, and Chris Godwin. So I don't see like this like offensive genius guru that can say, okay, what do we need to do to make Bryce Young successful? That's why I think Andy Dalton fits what he's going to do. Andy Dalton's a pocket guy. He's going to sit in the pocket. He's going to look for guys. When the Raiders were running zone, oh, my God, it was like –
he picked it apart. He picked it apart, man.
Yeah, a guy who's been in the league 14 years, what zone defense you going to run against Andy Dalton
right.
to confuse you? You're not going to run anything. You got to pressure the guy, and the Raiders didn't do that. Whereas, like, Bryce Young, he probably can't – he can't pick up on those zone defense coverages as well because NFL teams are really good at disguising shell coverages. So, as I said in the comments, experience matters. Vets matter. I guess so. The question is, because this is what everyone in the chat's asking, what do we do with Bryce Young now?
What we did with him today, just sit him down. It's simple. And here's the thing: it doesn't matter what we want. Bryce Young ain't gonna play until absolutely necessary, man. I'm gonna harp on this point again, man. Dave Canales is looking at what happened with these other coaches. And you think he wants to be a part of that group? Hell no, man. So I would not expect Bryce Young to play another down unless we're blowing somebody out or Dalton gets hurt, man. Now, we can ask this question going into the next offseason, which we're jumping way ahead, obviously. But in terms of this season, man, I think the message is very clear in terms of from top to bottom. The Panthers want to win football games, regardless of whether we want to have the tanking conversation, the draft pick conversation, whatever. It does not matter. Dave Canales and David Tepper, I hate, this is rare that I say this, but I think this is the one time the owner and the coaches are actually on the same page. They want to win football games, regardless of what we think is the best way to go or not. Oh God, I'm not knowing.
So I do. So the question is, can you develop Bryce Young? Because as Willie Smith has said, he was hired to work with Bryce, and if he can't figure out a scheme for the number one pick, that is an indictment on him. And you and I know the curse of Charlotte sports. Let Bryce Young go to Miami.
He'll go somewhere else and
ball out. Then the narrative will be, regardless of how good the Panthers were, the narrative will be, that we're the same old Carolina Panthers, and you come here, and if you're quarterback, nothing's gonna come out of that. But I don't know. I don't think you can actually. I don't think you can develop Bryce Young to be Andy Dalton. I don't. And that's not to say he won't be as good as Andy Dalton, but they're two different style of quarterbacks, right?
Right.
They're just too different.
Right.
Andy Dalton is like the prototypical NFL pocket passer. That's what he's going to do. He had a nice run today. Don't do that anymore, Andy Dalton, because we might need you for like the next 3 years. So
yeah,
don't do that. But whereas Bryce Young is not that guy. I think because of his physical, I hate to call them deficiencies, but that at the NFL level, that's what they are.
Yeah,
you have to scheme around his strengths, which is his intelligence. And Bryce Young actually is a pretty accurate thrower of the ball. I know it doesn't seem like that through the previous 2 weeks, but I think when he's got an open lane and time to throw, he's as accurate as anybody in the NFL. He doesn't have
but that's been 75% of the problem. You know what I mean? Not having those open lanes to throw the ball. And, so it is because of the size.
Why are other teams reaching out to the Panthers for Bryce? Reports are coming in this week after the news that he got benched. Teams are reaching out to the Panthers trying to work out trades for Bryce Young. So if Bryce Young is so garbage, why do
these teams trying to get him?
And let's be real here. If we had taken C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young would be a Houston Texan, right? I mean, that's the reality of the situation. I think there are a lot of good things about Bryce Young, but maybe that's not what we needed in Carolina.
Yeah, I usually hate, because this is more Hornets talk. Don't you hate when fans be like, man, we didn't know how to use whoever? And it's usually like Malik Monk or somebody. But anyway, this is the first time I'll say maybe Carolina doesn't really know how to not use, but develop somebody like Bryce Young. Because we keep, like, the buzzword is always size, right? No, he's small. He has to jump the pass, blah, 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 blah. It's working out just fine in Arizona. They don't have that problem. You understand what I'm saying? It worked out for Drew Brees. They didn't have that problem. All these guys are short quarterbacks. So what is the problem here? Why can't we do the same thing?
I still think I don't think Canales is the right hire
for
what Tepper thinks he wants, which is like the high flying offense. I don't think Tepper's that guy. It would be different if Tepper was if Dave Canales was replacing Matt Rule, and then you were going into the draft with the number 1 pick and possibly getting a quarterback. It's different then. But you already got your quarterback. I mean, you traded literally like all your best players for him. So now you bring in a guy who's I don't think Dave Canales is that guy.
Yeah. Well, now he looked like that guy today, but we're talking one game,
okay. We'll see. Now there's still. But I like this comment. Winning with Andy Dalton solves nothing. It only solves something if you think the Panthers should stick with Andy Dalton until the end of his career. If you think the next 3-4 years should be the Andy Dalton show in Carolina, then I think it does solve something, because then you can focus on other areas, because the Panthers have a lot of holes. They got a lot of areas they need to shore up. But now you don't have to worry about the quarterback if Andy Dalton's your guy.
And I'm sorry, Andy Dalton can't be your guy for the future. Nah, sorry, I'm not buying that, man. I get what you're saying, but just because of age, and I know we're coming off this game where he did look great. He looked great, but I'm judging Andy Dalton off a 10+ year sample size. It's going to regress to the mean at some point. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'll say this. They did say something on the broadcast about when they spoke to Andy Dalton that was telling, and this is why I wouldn't be so harsh on the idea of Andy Dalton sticking around. He stated that, so when he got benched in Cincinnati after a great career there, I mean, a really, really good career, but he was injured. He hurt his thumb that season, or hurt his throwing hand on his throwing hand. So he underperformed and got benched. And then he was just back up, in different places, New Orleans and
Dallas.
A lot of us think, if he can't be successful in New Orleans, which is like past the ball city, right?
All right.
But Andy Dalton stated that when he was in New Orleans, he felt like that was Jameis Winston's team, and he didn't want to upset the apple cart too much. You know what I'm saying? That was Jameis's team, and he didn't want to go all out, when he first started. But he said here in Carolina, he's not going to do that. This is his opportunity. He's going to embrace it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what he needed. Maybe this is we've seen quarterbacks extend their careers past their prime. He's 36. I know that's old for a quarterback, but I mean, if all he's going to do is sit in a protected pocket and throw the ball,
that'll buy him some years.
3-4 more years.
Right.
Also, last point. We had capable quarterbacks previously, and we chose to let them go. We had Baker Mayfield, and I know Baker looked bad today, but Baker Mayfield, I think it was more capable than we all gave him credit for. And we see what Sam Darnold's doing in Minnesota. And lest we forget, when Sam Darnold had Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers started.
They do look like the MVP for 3 weeks.
Oh, he looked incredible those first 3 weeks, and the Panthers started the season 4-1. So maybe jumping to trying to get an elite quarterback in the draft is not what the Panthers should be doing.
Well, you know what? Definitely not the way that Tepper has tried to do it. If you're going to do that, man, you just need to do it organically. You need to kind of fall into that situation. I know fans don't want to hear that. You know, like the optics look better when you aggressively try to go get your guy, but that obviously ain't worked out for the Panthers. So to your point, just kind of let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I'm okay with the bridge quarterback as long as we all understand and the organization understands that that's just what he is. You still eventually need to find your franchise guy, but wouldn't you rather bring a guy into a franchise that already has a solid base?
Yeah.
Instead of you brought Bryce Young into a franchise where you got rid of the base. You had a solid base. You got rid of it to get him, and thinking that he was going to be the guy, and he wasn't. So now, granted, like Chris says, was the Raiders. But I'll say this. I mean, the Raiders might not be that good, but there's nobody that thought the Panthers were going to put up 36 points today.
I didn't. Nah,
no,
not at all. Not at all.
So,
and you know, here's one thing we are not talking about today, man. And this needs to be brought up in terms of today, man. What is a quarterback's best friend, y'all? A quarterback's best friend is a good running game.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chuba Hubbard.
Let's talk about Chuba. Chuba because a lot of people are going to, the talk's going to be Andy Dalton all week, but we said this last week. Why are you not running Chuba Hubbard more? And I understand you get down 3 touchdowns. But I still feel like they went away from the run game a little too early last week. And boy, Chuba Hubbard he looked like he looked in college, right?
And here's the thing, man. 21 carries, 114 yards. I'm very impressed with the 21 carries because he didn't look like he was slowing down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he didn't look worn out. He could have stayed out there and scored some more. I mean, the only reason he did is because the Raiders knew that we were just going to run the ball in the fourth quarter, and so they were stacking the box. But Chuba looked good. It looked good catching the ball too. He also had 5 catches for 55 yards.
And let me say this. I'm very, very proud of that because Chuba struggled mightily his first year in the league catching the ball out of the backfield. I mean, this dude used to drop everything. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Like it was just making us more upset that we let Christian McCaffrey go. But since then, man, he's mightily improved catching that ball out the backfield, man. So that's just an added weapon for whoever's going to be the quarterback going forward. So good for him, man.
What is Miles Sanders good for? I'm not gonna shit on Miles Sanders this week.
Missing blocks.
He missed a big block too. But he had a touchdown today. But he's got to be on the trading block. He has to be on the trading block.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me repeat what I said about Miles Sanders last week, man. When Miles Sanders was bought here, he was bought here to be the guy. When I say the guy, he was RB number 1. You understand what I'm saying? So at no point in time, I'm thinking Miles Sanders probably never thought that, hey, I'm going to be the backup to some Chuba Hubbard guy. So for that alone, man, he's probably not going to need to be on this team going forward. Especially now we got Jonathan Brooks coming off of IR.
Yeah. This is another good point. Hunt Lewis looks good, and I think the GM wanted to see if our offseason moves are the right moves. I think they have looked great in the running game.
Yeah.
The first 3 weeks. The offensive line didn't look as good today in pass protection as everyone thinks. Go back and watch the film. You would see Ike Ekwonu getting shoved out the way still. It's just that Andy Dalton, being a veteran, was able to make quick decisions and correct ones. And the Raiders did not blitz all that often. They sent 4 guys, and then dropped everyone back into zones. And Andy Dalton does. I mean, pretty much most competent NFL offensive lines can block 4 pass rushers with zone coverage behind it. And, that's all the time Andy Dalton needs. I think the pass protection still has a little bit of way to go. But I do think Robert Hunt had the block of the season so far. Those are
oh, my games. God. I jumped off my couch when I saw that one, man.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, I got hyped. Yeah. That's what, the Panthers look like they had a little bit of dog in them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially against the Raiders, a team that is that's like their identity.
They got their attitude. Right.
Yeah. Miles Sanders waving. Was that Miles waving by to the crowd as they walked? They had a little bit of swagger with them. They was knocking guys over. Good hits.
And you know what I think was important about that? Like, Max Crosby didn't get off today, man. I think that was a real big factor, man. Like the fact that they kept Max Crosby out of the backfield and he didn't make the impact on the game that he usually does every week. It speaks to that point.
Remember we were talking about this guy last week? What did we pay Deontay Johnson on?
I'm sorry. We were wondering why he was here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
What a difference a quarterback makes.
What a difference a quarterback makes. Yeah. I mean, because I don't think he did anything different last week as far as, getting open, being in the right position to make, good catches and big plays. But the whole team, see, that's the thing. When one facet of your team plays well, everyone else, that symbiotic relationship. We talk, even special teams, looked good. It's just hard to get. I'm excited. I'm happy the Panthers won, but it's hard to get excited over this win because it's like, next week is going to be a tougher opponent.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. I mean, I think the Bengals are better than the Raiders, but I don't know. There's film on Andy Dalton now.
I mean, I'm with you, man. I'm still in wait and see mode. Like, in no way, shape, or form, I'm like, yeah, here we go, we're back. Like, no, I'm not there yet, man. I'm still very much in wait and see mode. And I got to shout out my man Ryan Pickett, man, who writes for the QC Nerve. He made an interesting tweet, man, and it was something to the effect of, the Panthers have heard how terrible they have been all week. We've heard how terrible this franchise is, and David Tepper, blah, blah, blah. And every professional team, no matter how bad they are, have a breaking point. And I think it shows today. The Panthers had enough. It's like, all right, man, like, we getting tired of being called sorry and we this and we that and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's part of the reason why they look pretty good on every single level today. These guys are professionals, and on paper, they're not as bad as they have been, especially the defense. You understand what I'm saying? So I think the collective effort came from just that attitude and that swagger you were talking about.
Well, hopefully they can carry this momentum.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pick the Panthers to win next week, but I think they'll have a better showing. Really, and that's all we've asked for since the
That's all we want. Yep.
Let's show some areas of improvement.
Look like professionals.
But I still think the Panthers need to lose as many games as possible this season. I was talking to our friend JG about this.
Hey, Kaiser, I don't think you're gonna get what you want this year, bro. I don't
think so either. But if okay, so we saw the Colorado Baylor game, right? Travis Hunter is probably going to top 5.
That dude. He's that dude. Yep.
And if you get a Travis Hunter, the impact that he makes is greater than Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, who are going to be the 2 hot quarterback names coming out of college this year. Although I think they'll be solid NFL quarterbacks, but I'm just saying I think the Panthers need a guy who is going to make an immediate impact on either side of the ball, but I think defense is where we have the most holes, and we have no star defensive players. Derek Brown, and he's gone for the season. Maybe J.C. Horn. Who's our best pass rusher? Jadeveon Clowney's not even going to be here next year, probably.
So let me ease your mind a little bit, man. I just want to remind you, and I know he doesn't play for the Panthers, but I'm just stating this guy because we wanted him so bad here. Michael Parsons was not picked in the top 5.
He was not.
Luke Kuechly
not
was not picked in the top 5. J.C. Horn was not picked in the top 5. So the point is, man, we can still get an impact guy, but you gotta pick the right guy, and that copy and paste to the Hornets. You know what I mean?
Well, see, so here's the problem. The Panthers cannot become the Hornets. They cannot be on a hamster wheel. They can't be too good to get a great player, right? It's always been the Hornets' problem.
But they also can't suck. They can't suck so much that they're
exactly
hamster wheel for 7 years too. Yeah, 7 more years.
I think when I look at defenders that are coming out in this year's draft, and full disclosure, I am not the college football guy. That's Jamal. But just from what I've seen, there are a lot of really good defenders coming out in this year's draft. This is the draft of defense, and
we need to cash in on that.
You cash in on that, right? And I know some people say, "Well, it's the draft of defense." You take you take one of the rare offensive guys because you know you're going to get a good defense. No.
No, sir.
Get the guy that's going to change your franchise, whether that's James Pierce, who, by the way, I forgot to mention last week, is from Charlotte. So you got a guy, maybe the best pass rusher in college, had 10 sacks, 15 tackles for a loss last season. He's from Charlotte. I just don't see how you don't draft that guy if he's available.
Yeah, you jump on that if he's available. That dude ain't going past 3. I'm telling you that now.
He's not. No, he's not. Which we gonna mess up and mess around and pick 9. And we don't have Marty Hurney. That's another thing. Yeah, we got Luke Kuechly 9th, but say what you want about Marty Hurney, but in the first round, that dude
knocks out the park, bro.
Gold. Many yellow jackets.
Hey, so I do want to. Here's another thing I want to talk about, man. With Andy Dalton in particular, man. I like the way he spread the ball around, man. There's like 7 different guys that caught passes today. We got a Jonathan Mingo sighting today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, man, Thielen caught that great touchdown, but of course it came at a price, man. He got hurt. Hopefully, he's not out too long, man. Deontay Johnson was actually smiling on the sideline. I haven't seen that yet. So that was a
great 122 for that guy. That's crazy, yeah.
So he did what he was brought here to do, man. So hopefully that can also continue. But you made this point about the offensive line kind of not being as good as it may have appeared today, which I do agree. And coming in and going into next week, man, that Bengals defensive line is a little better than the Raiders defensive line. So these boys got to make that adjustment next week. I don't know if it's going to be as easy as it was this week. So,
hey, let's flip to the other side of the ball real quick.
Yeah,
Mike Jackson, 9 tackles, 3 passes defended, and a pick.
All over the place.
Is our secondary? Are we good in the secondary? When was the last time we had 2 corners? Because I think Mike Jackson played well as the defense did not really play well in the first 2 weeks, but I think that was because the offense was playing so terribly. But I thought Mike Jack was a bright spot.
Both weeks. I thought he was a bright spot both weeks. Yeah. Hey, man, look, shout out to Dan Morgan, who may have found this diamond in the rough, man, because again, just judging from this sample size of 3 weeks, that man's been all over the place, man. He's looked every bit. He's looked better than Dante Jackson. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't even miss Dante Jackson. It's
at all.
Great point.
And I thought I was gonna miss Dante Jackson a little bit, man, but nah, I don't right now, bro.
And I think the first 3 weeks, guys have not gone to J.C. Horn's side too much. They don't want to test him. They might, like in a soft zone, they might throw to his guy. And we did see, single coverage. He got tested and got beat on really a great catch. And but they're kind of picking on Mike Jack because He was what, a 6th-round draft pick?
Yeah, he doesn't have the respect yet.
Yeah. But hey, I don't know if you really want to be picking on dude like that. And even there was a play where Dante Adams stiff armed him, but Jackson didn't let go, and he ended up making the tackle, and he was jawing at him after that. Kind of like, yeah, you can't just stiff arm me off, bro. And I was like, okay, I see you. I mean, maybe. Some people have said this. My cousin texted me this. Our boy JG said maybe the team is not as bad as we think it is.
But I just said that on paper, it's really not, man. On paper, it's not that bad. But I think this goes back to this relationship between the offense and the defense. And I don't know if you were listening during halftime, man, but Canales even made mention of it. He said twice, we have to keep playing complementary football. Those were his exact words. He said it twice at halftime. We have to keep playing complementary football. So I think he knows that symbiotic relationship that me and you keep talking about is important to winning football games, man.
All right. So for like the first time in maybe two seasons, we actually have a tough choice to make for offensive and defensive MVP, and not this time for the right reason. Normally I have a tough choice to make because everyone's so shitty. But this week, I mean,
my choice ain't tough for offensive MVP, honestly.
What's that?
I'm not gonna lie, man. My choice for offensive MVP ain't that tough, man. It's got to be Andy Dalton. It's got to be, man.
Yeah, it has to be. You could say Chuba. I think Dalton, Chuba, Johnson is kind of the order there because Chuba, those 55 yards receiving and a touchdown reception, nothing to sneeze at. He really had like a Christopher McCaffrey type performance today. I don't want to jinx that man like that, but yeah. But none of that happens if Andy Dalton's not out there doing what he did today.
Yeah, and we've seen quarterback changes. We've seen quarterback changes on this team. You make that change, and then the whole team is like energized. Don't discredit that fact either. You know what I mean? So that some of that may have happened today too.
Defensive side of the ball, I think this one's pretty obvious too.
You on Mike Jackson?
Mike Jackson, but LeBron Ray played a great game today.
I'm sorry, who?
For a loss and a QB hit. Where the hell did this guy come from?
Right.
Yeah, like who is LeBron Ray? I don't know, but I think clearly on the defensive side of the ball, Mike Jackson, had just a great game and had the pick that really, Las Vegas thought they had something going. We're gonna come back maybe.
Yeah,
we're gonna pull off what we did against Baltimore and that interception took care of the ball. So.
Before I pick my defensive MVP, I just want to also say who the hell is Jaden Peavy, because he made a couple of big plays, and I was like, who? I'm sorry, what? This is not my MVP as well, but I also thought after the first quarter, because the first quarter all I saw was Clowney getting thrown on his ass. After the first quarter, I thought Clowney was actually getting to the quarterback a lot, but he just didn't get home a lot. He finished with one sack.
He got that burst like he had.
Right.
Also, but I think the Raiders having to throw the ball made it easier. He could just get in his stance and go after the quarterback. He didn't have to worry about the run. By the way, let's talk about that real quick. The Panthers only gave up 55 yards on the ground.
That's big, man.
Now, I know it'll be like, well, they were up 3 touchdowns and the Raiders thus couldn't run the ball. But even before that, the Raiders, the reason they were up 3 touchdowns, I think, is because the Raiders could not run the ball. They couldn't.
They never got in the rhythm running the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't sustain drives because they were always, in 3rd and longs because the Panthers had made a decision. Hey, you're not going to run the ball on us. And, boy, did they deliver.
And it look, man, Captain Obvious Statement, Boy, it's a stark contrast from last week, man.
Oh boy,
55 yards compared to 200 last week. So,
yeah, big stop on fourth down too.
yep.
The Panthers came up big when they needed to, which is something we hadn't seen in forever. They looked great on third down conversions as well, something the Panthers had not looked. When they needed a play, they got it. And, teams create their own luck. So,
absolutely. So, with that being said, Mike Jackson is also my defensive MVP. I just think that's also very obvious, too, man. He played a hell of a game today, all over the place. And one more thing about Mike Jackson. You know how when your cornerbacks or your safeties have too many tackles, it's usually a concern.
Yeah.
Not today. I thought Mike Jackson was just kind of getting dirty today. You know what I mean? Like he made some tackles in the backfield today. Like he was really just kind of all over the place. So his DB tackles were not as much as a concern as it usually is.
So next week we play the Bengals.
Yeah.
We play them at home. Now, the Bengals are 0-2, but they do have a Monday night game against Washington. This one's hard to call. So the ESPN matchup predictor gives the Bengals a 66% chance.
I wouldn't go that high. I really wouldn't go that high.
I think the big story is going to be the defense. Can the defense stop Joe Burrow? Is
and
going
Jamar Chase.
Yep, that's the best quarterback receiver combination will have faced so far this season. Even better than Derek Carr and his crew. It's not going to be like Gardner Minshew, because there were times where I felt like Gardner Minshew had too much time to throw.
Yeah,
and the coverage on the back end was really good, so we got the coverage set. That's not going to be the case next week. There will be no time. If you give Joe Burrow that much time to throw the ball, it's not.
It's going to pick you apart. It's going to pick you apart, man. Yep.
Having said that, I think this is going to be a close one.
I agree.
I'm going to say 24-21 Cincinnati. And I'm not too sure about that.
Guys, I'm gonna almost go chalk, man. I'm just gonna pick a slightly higher scoring game, man. I'm probably gonna go Bengals 21, Panthers 20. I'm sorry, Bengals 27, Panthers 21. I kind of think the same thing, man, because there are some things to feel good about. Like you said, the Bengals have a Monday night game, kind of a short turnaround, relatively speaking, a short turnaround to come back to Charlotte on a Sunday and play a away game for them. But at the same time, I think at the end of the day, man, like we're gonna have some challenges with their passing attack, and I think that's gonna be the difference, man. So I'm also gonna go.
Yeah, let's be honest. Bryce Young hadn't even stepped on the field against the Saints before we were down 7-0.
Right.
So, and speaking of the Saints, have the Saints shot their wad? No, the Eagles are a good team. They're not the Carolina Panthers. The Saints have looked good these first 2 weeks, but I don't think Dallas is all that good. I mean, they're better than the Panthers, but I don't think they're all that good. I mean, they're 1-2. The Panthers are 1-2, right? You are what your record says you are. Right. So you go up against 1-2 teams the first 2 weeks, you're going to look incredible. I mean, it's the Saints. They've never had a bad offense in the last, 20 years since Hurricane Katrina. I don't think they've had a bad offense. So, the Eagles are just a good team. So I don't think – trust me, when the Saints play Carolina again, it's going to be, same old Saints versus Carolina, right? Now, this is a good point. Andy's 2-1 against the Bengals. You know how players get up against their former team. And this ain't just his former team. This is like
he was the guy for years. He was the face of the franchise.
He was the Cam Newton of the Cincinnati Bengals, right?
Yep.
I mean, 8 straight playoff appearances, something like that. So he might get up for this game. He might put it on him.
Yeah, but I think me and you agree that won't be the issue. The issue is on the other side of the ball for us.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I
yeah,
ain't worried about
you
that.
gotta generate a pass rush. I mean, to have any hope against Joe Burrow, you cannot just drop back in zones. I mean, you cannot against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is not Gardner Minshew. He's
Yeah.
not.
I have a very quick unrelated question. I'm just a very quick unrelated comment. Why the hell am I seeing the Atlanta Falcons on primetime TV for the second time this season?
As
I
Danny.
digress.
Danny. I think because they drafted
Penix.
maybe.
No, I know. I think more so because they signed Kirk Cousins. I think that's probably more the reason.
Here's the thing. They play Kansas City tonight, so Atlanta's going to have the same record as the Panthers after this week, and I expect them to get flexed out of. You know what would be crazy? Don't let the Panthers go on a winning streak with Andy Dalton, because then they're going to be the darlings of the league. You know, everyone has always liked Andy Dalton, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people actually liked him better than Cam Newton. Remember, they came out of the same draft, and a lot of people were like, Andy Dalton was the better quarterback. Because I think he was a better, like, pure passer. He was like an NFL quarterback. Cam Newton was
he was the prototype. Yeah,
right. Cam Newton was something we'd only ever seen like in like Randall Cunningham, right? So,
yeah.
The league has always liked Andy Dalton, and so if this would be like comeback story of the year, if Andy Dalton is like backpacking the lowly Carolina Panthers to wins.
Well, let's hope so. we need something positive.
I don't know, man. I'm telling you, they need to be bad enough to get a good pick.
You are all on the tank train, man.
I don't know. It works in the NFL. It does. It just does. In the NBA don't work because of the lottery system, but in the NFL, you get the first pick, you're in the catbirds. Now, if you tank for the first pick, if you do what the Panthers did, which is trade away everybody to get the first pick, no, that does not work because then you don't have anybody to surround your first pick with. So
yeah.
Before we end the show, get the shout outs, we do want to talk about one thing. The nominees for the NFL Hall of Fame, for the Football Hall of Fame, have come out, and there are 2 Panthers on the list. One is Luke Kuechly, which should surprise
Automatic.
no one. And if he doesn't get first ballot,
better be first ballot.
If he doesn't, and some people will say, well, he played too short of a career.
I don't care.
I don't want to hear that. If Luke Kuechly's on first ballot, we hopping in the whip. We going to Canton. We going to Ohio. Don't be surprised. The other Carolina Panther is Ryan Khalil. Now, as much as I would love to see Carolina Panthers get into the Hall of Fame, does Ryan Khalil even deserve to be on the ballot?
That's probably one of those things where it's just like, we have nobody else to put here, and his eligibility just came up, and why not? That sounds bad, but that could be the case. Quite honestly,
Ryan Khalil,
solid guy, solid, but yeah,
he's got 4 Pro Bowls and 2 first-team All-Pro selections over a career of 13 seasons. So that's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good for an offense.
But the fact is, for offensive linemen, there are better guys who have not gotten in. That's the issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean,
let me tell you something real quick. Let me tell you something that I kind of noticed about offensive linemen in the Hall of Fame, man. I call it the Anthony Munoz effect. For you youngins who do not know who Anthony Munoz is, this dude is like the greatest left tackle ever, and I do mean ever. You understand what I'm saying? No, don't even try to compare this guy to anybody else. He was so good that the Hall of Fame, and this is just kind of my opinion, the Hall of Fame that has kind of held everybody to this unrealistic standard that as an offensive lineman, you have to have that type of career to get into the Hall of Fame. And it's not fair, but we all know what fair really means. You understand what I'm saying? It's not fair, but I'm just kind of illustrating the point that as an offensive lineman, you have to be super great to, number one, either get in or get in the first ballot.
You can't quantify offensive line play with just stats. That's really hard to do.
Right.
I mean, I think the only thing they track now they track, I think, pass rush or pass block wins, and run block wins.
Let me cut you off real quick. And it's a little different now because of what you just said. Now we have all these fancy PFF stats that we didn't have in the 80s and 90s. You understand what I'm saying? So maybe that changes the dynamic a little bit, man.
Also, the selection process for the Hall of Fame, I think, needs to be changed. The fact that they only allow like 7 players total across all the positions on the field, is just absolutely ridiculous. And that's like it's not an official rule. That's just kind of like an unofficial rule. That's why there's a logjam on wide receiver. That's why Steve Smith should be on this ballot and in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
That's why is Art Monk, did he ever make it?
I don't know if Art Monk ever made it. Good question, man.
But he should have, right? He was like the Steve Smith of his day.
Right.
They got to, but meanwhile, Ryan Khalil. I mean, if you're Steve Smith and Ryan Khalil, and I know they're friends.
How much sense does that make?
Right. I know they're like best friends, but it's like Ryan Khalil before Steve Smith.
Yeah, come on, man. Nowhere on earth is that right. No, just no, man.
So go ahead, put Luke Kuechly in there. If he not, I swear to God, if he's not first ballot.
Hey man, we gassing up the kid, man. We rolling. We riding this Cannon, bro.
With special episode under instruction from Cannon, Ohio. All right. All right. I mean, this is a good victory Sunday. I'm gonna go have a cigar and a drink.
There you go.
And then of course I'm gonna go look. I'm gonna go look at the Raiders SB Nation page, and I just want to see
the meltdown.
Yeah, they're gonna talk about how they need to trade everyone, how Gardner Minshew sucks, how Antonio Pierce is the worst coach. You got coach Marvin Lewis, trash.
Right. We do this all the time, man.
Raiders fans just.
I actually admire Raiders fans' passion. The Raiders fans have an extremely passionate fan base.
Now because now they're in Vegas, and I don't know the last time you guys go to Vegas, but now it's just like everyone's a Raiders fan. Even people in Vegas. Vegas is now a sports town. The Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup, so now you're going to see Golden Knights. Guys,
the Aces are probably going to win the WNBA title again.
Right. The Athletics are coming to town.
Hey, stop. Let's not talk about that, man. Hey, I don't want to talk about that, man.
Miles Bridges saw the show last week. Decided to start rapping. Good for you, bro. Miles like, I'm gonna make it out the NBA with this one, bro.
I'm gonna make it out the NBA.
All right. Shout outs.
Shout out. Kind of a shout out and a shout at, man. Shout at to the brand new WNBA fans who are following Caitlin Clark to the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Go figure. It's going to be a shame when Caitlin Clark exits out the first round when the Sun kick her ass. So congratulations to the Connecticut Sun on the win today. Please hurry up and wrap the series up so we can get the bigger and better things. Shout out to Florida State, who finally won a damn game. And it was not impressive, to be quite honest with you, but a win is a win, and we'll take it these days. Got to lower our expectations, unfortunately. Shout out to who do I want to shout out this week? Shout out to my Raiders friends, Evan Wells and Mike Pate. You guys suck if you let us beat us. I will be talking shit when I see you in person. Shout out to my boy Mike Kitchen, who is in town today, who's bringing all these dope live shows to Charlotte. For all you old jazz heads, Herbie Hancock will be here Wednesday. I am not missing that for anything, so I will be there. Shout out to Charlotte FC, man. Charlotte FC got off the snide and beat New England's ass last night, man. Yesterday, 4-0. I'm sorry, I got to get my soccer terminology right. 4-0. So shout out to Charlotte FC on the victory yesterday, man.
As stated in the comments, John Wilson, unanimous MVP.
No doubt about it. No argument there.
Might end up being the GOAT pretty soon.
Yep.
James Madison. Now, I am a North Carolina fan, but I don't really like college football. I don't give a shit about, and especially when it comes to UNC. But goddamn, y'all,
70 points.
How you put up 50 and still lose by 20?
And how you let ECPI do that? Like, really?
Yeah, you paid him to come play you.
Where the hell is James Madison at?
Oh yeah, I was just about to mention this is about to be my shout out at Belk for putting these 2 giant Hugo statues in the junkyard for the last 25 years or however long they've been there. It's crazy.
What the hell was wrong with y'all?
Save them. There's 2 of them. They there. So
guys, we need to go get them, man.
I'm
We
just
need
saying,
to go get them.
we get the truck.
Yeah.
Now I have an HOA in my neighborhood, and if they saw a 20-foot Hugo Hornet in the backyard, I might have to pay a fine, but it'd be worth it.
Hey, man, I ain't got no HOA. We can go get them, man. I'll set them up in the front yard, too.
New owners, this is your opportunity to get some free goodwill with the fans.
Absolutely.
Go get those things and put them in the Thanksgiving parade.
Yep.
Put them outside of the damn
arena.
Do something with those things, right? Fans.
Absolutely.
Fans they'll love you for something so stupid because we're sports fans. That's what we do. Because if you go dig those statues out of the junkyard, put them somewhere, I'll go take a picture with them somewhere. Do that. Y'all won't because you don't watch the show and you don't listen. But do it.
Maybe I'll hit him up on Twitter, man. Austin, no doubt, man. Shout out to John C. Smith, man. 4-0 for the first time, like forever. I don't know exactly when, but yeah, John C. Smith is 4-0, man. Shout out to the Golden Bulls. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Austin. I almost forgot about that, man.
Speaking of CIAA and or HBCUs, real quick, I know a lot of you guys watch Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay, but he had Ronnie Coleman on there. And if you don't know, Ronnie Coleman is probably the greatest bodybuilder of all time. It's even more so than like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ronnie Coleman, he actually played football at Grambling. That's what made me think about that. So go watch that episode because it's really telling. Ronnie Coleman is like a very humble dude, and he talks openly about using steroids and bodybuilding. But it's just amazing. I think as sports fans, we don't realize the extreme limits some of these athletes go to in order to win. Ronnie Coleman.
And the pressure that's put on them, too.
Yeah. I mean, Ronnie Coleman, when I say extreme, and if those of you who are too young to remember Ronnie Coleman in his heyday 20 years ago, just Google image search Ronnie Coleman. This guy, he didn't even look real. He looks like a comic book character in his prime. And now he can't walk anymore. He literally can't walk. He had 13 surgeries. And it's just a testament to what athletes put themselves through just for, a short time of glory in their lives. So yeah. So, all right. That's going to do it for this week. We had a good week. I can watch all the sports shows tomorrow.
No doubt.
And at least till next week until we lose to the Bengals. But
I definitely want to see what Rex Ryan has to say tomorrow. He had a lot to say this week.
But hold up. He was absolutely correct though. He was correct.
Didn't say he was wrong.
Yeah. Regardless of what he said, regardless of what happened this week, all of those guys were correct about their assessment of Carolina Panthers, particularly from the top down. But we can just feel good that they got the win this week. So thank y'all for rolling with us again. We do this for you guys. And I can't wait. I cannot wait to our first show in which the Panthers have a winning season. We have not done a show
ever
in which the Panthers had a winning season.
Hey man, here's my unpopular hot take. I can't wait till we do a show where the Hornets actually make in the playoffs.
Hornets make the playoffs.
I'm not gonna know how to act. I'm just telling you right now.
If the Hornets and the Panthers make the playoffs in the same year, then
I don't know. Me and Kaiser might get it. We might have to raise a bail fund if that happens, y'all. So get ready to help us out.
It's gonna be wild. We hope y'all are here with us. We really, really
no doubt.
Y'all. So y'all have a good week.